Hello, everyone. My name is Rochelle Fleming, and I'm on the industry marketing team at Microsoft. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to be at today's webinar, Beyond Paperless, Improve Operations and Efficiency with Digital Logbooks. We're happy to have you here, so thank you so much. This is the second session of Microsoft and Tulip's webinar series, Transforming Life Sciences Manufacturing. And throughout the series, we have and will continue to hear from the industry experts on how to drive innovation with cloud-based solutions for life sciences manufacturers. And I'd love to introduce our three industry experts who are on the call today. Yuri Gomez is the Global Chief Commercial and Strategy Officer for the Process Manufacturing Industry Division at Microsoft. She leads the GTM strategy and sales execution for process industries, including chemicals, steel, pulp and paper, pharmaceuticals, and others. She drives end-to-end digital transformation for Fortune 100 companies and many more, working with engineering, sales, and partner teams. She has over 2 decades of industry experience, and prior to joining Microsoft, she worked for Johnson & Johnson, Solvay, and various startups where she had multiple leadership roles, leading innovation, manufacturing, E2E supply chain, commercial ops, and mergers and acquisitions. Next is Michelle Volo. She, for 3 years now, has led quality at Tulip. And before joining Tulip, Michelle spent over 24 years in the biopharmaceutical and medical device industries in many roles, ranging from QC laboratory, engineering technical support, quality assurance management, and computerized systems compliance. Michelle has a strong understanding of the needs of the life sciences industry and is now motivated and driven to evolve stagnant ways of meeting compliance requirements, especially as it relates to the 4.0 world. And Nanad Dio is our pre-sales engineer and has worked at Tulip since 2018. He works closely with life sciences customers to identify pain points and come up with Tulip applications that would address those challenges. So thank you so much to our three industry experts for being on this call. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to be here and listen to the conversation and be involved in Q&A. And with that, Michelle, thank you. I'm going to hand it to you to officially kick off the conversation. So thank you.
Thanks for the nice long intro there. Hi, and welcome to everyone. Thanks so much for giving us your time today. I'm really excited to talk about some of this transformational stuff and what it might mean to your operations. So I hope some of you have had a chance to look at or listen in on the first session about AI and life sciences. With so much hype out there in the world today, it was really great to hear from them and to understand some of the practical ways that Tulip and Microsoft, especially as partners together, are bringing some of these features to everyone out there, and especially in a democratized way, and allowing us to use these functionalities on our shop floor. So it's a really great session. So if you haven't had a chance, definitely take some time and listen back to that session as well. So today we're going to be going through a few things. Our main topic is really about the pitfalls of paper on glass, or really just some of the older ways of implementing technologies, and really sort of more the benefits of really going digital and maybe some of the differences. We'll talk a little bit about what Tulip and Microsoft together are doing, and again, in order to enable these functionalities to get to you and your operations. And then Nanad will walk us through a real live example of how to apply some of these and to get started now on your journey. And then we'll talk about some of the successes that we've had using these technologies. So let's see, let's get started with a poll question here. So we're going to start off and make sure everyone's awake and get you started. What is your biggest pain point with using paper? Recognizing that everyone is on different parts of their journey. Some people have had, are fully paper. Maybe some people have started their journeys, but I'm sure we can all remember the pain points of using paper. I'm going to give a minute or two here. All right, some numbers are in. Some of the numbers are kind of level set, but we're seeing sort of a clear winner here. So Yuri, why don't you get us started with what some of your thoughts on what's coming out here?
Michelle, so it's very interesting to see these results from the poll. So the results are actually not surprising to me. Life sciences companies are always exposed to all of these issues when embracing a paper-based or paper-on-glass documentation process. So if we really think about how people, it's a critical component for documenting all of the activities in notebooks as per GXP compliance guidelines. We know clearly that mistakes are inevitable, right? So when we think of tracing information in paper reports or printouts or other documentation, and then we clearly see that, productivity is low due to the time consumed with these mundane tasks, right? So I think what we're seeing here from the polls is like, look, it's very time consuming. I think, I would agree really that it's probably one of the most primary issues that we see with this mechanism. And all of these, issues actually lead to analysis paralysis. And then frontline workers are unable to really process information at that fast pace that life sciences companies need today. So plus then you add all of this complexity of having to save or transfer paper documents into a digital portal, and they can actually see huge patterns of wasted time and inefficiency. And then, so I think for me, all of these polls, Michelle, is really a kind of a confirmation of all the issues that these old mechanisms, as you stated before, really are no longer effective to serve life sciences industry, especially when it comes to production and quality in real time.
Great. Yeah, thanks for that. I think we're going to explore some of these things and what digital transformation can help you with. I'm probably covering each of those topics. So the pitfalls of paper on glass. We're really going to start our conversation today that is really about going beyond paperless, right? Not just shifting into paperless world, but what goes beyond that. So Yuri, let's get us started on this conversation. What do you think this means to you?
Yeah, Michelle, I think the life sciences industry is one of the industries where extensive paper-based documentation still exists today. And if it is not paper-based, of course, it is then glass on paper or paper on glass, right? Which is still not very effective. Now, the problem is that this historic way of working is no longer effective for the new world of accelerated change in technology and the need to create new products to just launch to market. So paper-based errors are super costly to life sciences companies, and the implications can be huge. So ranging, for example, from lengthy laboratory investigations many times, and even sometimes even product recalls, or worse, regulatory fines and brand damage to life sciences companies. Going beyond paperless to me is a fascinating topic. Well, I myself was a super user of paper docs in quality functions, and even at times also paper on glass, right? Putting a lot of documentation in computers. But, as the person involved in documentation review and approval, the amount of care and careful documentation analysis is so overwhelming. Now, these operating conditions don't have to be this way anymore today. So let me tell you a few ways actually where I think companies need to start really thinking differently to change this paradigm. So I would say one is really understanding that computerization, or many also refer to this term as digitization, is a good way to start, but it's not enough. On one hand, digital entry documentation, it leaves many gaps unaddressed. Operators, for example, can still type in errors, right, during data capture, impacting hours of work, and sometimes even the quality and validity of a batch or analysis in the laboratory, which can result in really pretty much tons of lost production. It also results in lack of confidence, and it also causes loss of strains in a quality function. So then we start to think about information, right? Information is stuck in data silos. And decision makers, they don't have access to all the original sources of data in real time. So they are pretty much stuck with making decisions based on what's documented in the computer, or much worse, in the physical laboratory notebook. Now, that is very costly when a mistake that probably was perhaps a simple error because of human error, and then the batch was perfect, right? So perhaps somebody mistyped something and it caused thousands of or millions of losses for the company. Now, to solve this, Microsoft and Tulip have been working together and doing a fantastic job, really helping 500 Fortune companies and even more in advancing their operations through automation of workflows and digital notebooks. So you can get started with digitizing all of these workflows and then digitizing your operations. And then, of course, transforming how your frontline operators work. For example, logbooks are a good first step, but don't stop there. You need to really continue to transform your processes with digital innovation. And I think, that for me, it's the key takeaway. But I'm curious, Michelle, so what is your viewpoint on this topic?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I have a lot of the same viewpoints as you, for sure. I think it's really interesting, that this whole digital transformation it's a journey, right? Not necessarily with a beginning and an end, or a destination that, you completed at the end of a given project, but it's really this continuous evolution and continuous change that needs to take place. One of the things that's become quite clear to me in working with a lot of, especially our customers and such, is really trying to demonstrate the value in going digital. I think that there's some sort of intrinsic and extrinsic values. I think everybody knows, of course, when you go digital or when you computerize, then you don't have paper to trace, to track around the shop floor or the offices where the quality is doing the review, or you don't have to route it anymore. And those are obvious things, but I think there's a lot of extrinsic value that these technologies can enable, that can provide more control for your operation. You already gave a bunch of examples around, manual data entry and things like that. Well, these technologies, if we start thinking in data terms, like, what data are we trying to capture? What data is more critical to assuring patient safety and product quality? Then we can wrap our controls around those data points. And the controls, I mean, are the controls that are offered and provided by the capabilities of these digital tools, like doing the checks for you, like taking data directly from the equipment, like enabling our operators to make decisions better because we can put the right data in front of them to make those decisions better. So there's a lot of other additional items that people need to understand, that it's not just a, new exciting project of implementing a tool, but really understanding that there are a lot of increased controls that these technologies can provide. So I think it's really about taking this digital journey. If we can go to the next slide, is where I wanted to kind of demonstrate this. I don't think I have the reference here, but this model down below is a maturity model that was put out by Acatech several years ago in the beginning of the discussion of 4.0, about Industry 4.0. And what it shows is the early stages of computerization. I think we're decades in on that. We've implemented some computerized tools. And I think the term you were using, paper on glass, is what I think these initial sort of computerization projects we're implementing, is something that puts exactly what's on paper into a digital or computerized tool. Whereas we need to start moving up this maturity ladder, which provides more connectivity and visibility of all these items across the shop floor. And this is kind of what, the 4.0 technologies offer. is really allowing that connectivity to other data sources. It provides the availability of these data sources to where it's needed, especially our shop floor operators. Again, it really enables them to do their jobs faster, smarter, better, all those kinds of things. So again, I think it really is this journey, but the point is also with some of these technologies like Tulip, is that they're very composable. And what composability means is that really you can start small. It's not sort of the big bang approaches of implementing a huge monolithic system where, it takes months and months and years to implement a tool or even upgrade that same tool. But you can start small. And, we hope to show that later with this logbook example where logbooks can, be sort of a really small dedicated area that you want to digitize, and leading up to adding more and more pieces to that to allow those data sources to provide incremental and added value over time. So anyway, it's a mouthful. There's a lot to do, but I guess the main point is start now. Start with little bits if you need to, but start now. This journey, and especially to enable all these like higher levels of maturity, of predictability, and even adaptability, self-adapting, we need to kind of get ourselves into the digital world. So, we're talking about all this digital transformation and, my little 2 cents here was really to kind of get started now. Yuri, what do you think is sort of, I don't know, a success factor? What do you think would be some advice to folks that are kind of embarking on this journey or maybe in the middle of the journey and need some more momentum?
Yeah, and first of all, Michelle, let me recognize what you just said there about the amazing value that can be unlocked by digital notebooks alone. I think just think about the amazing level of productivity with the quality team when you digitize. And then, pretty much you avoid tons of conflict and even later quality issues, right? So I think to your question, to me, you have to really, my advice to life sciences companies and any company that's really looking to digitize their manufacturing operations is you have to start perhaps assessing your current state of operations. And, that pretty much is understanding how are you operating today? What are your processes? Even how is your people operating? And even what are all the underlying issues that your current operations bring with that, right? And even evaluate the cost that all of that takes. Because I think that, it's the first recognition that change is needed. And then you need to start identifying gaps, especially, across all of the issues that were identified, so that you can paint a clear roadmap for your future state. And once, of course, you have this, then you need to get started with use cases that can add quick and tangible value, right? And that is why, in the first point I made, you need to, when you are looking at all those potential issues in your current state, you need to put some numbers, like what is it costing me in terms of labor, time, products that I'm not launching because, maybe just manufacturing a batch, it takes maybe a day, but it takes me 4 days to actually do the quality testing, review, and approval, when actually you can save all of that time if you actually go digital. And then you get started again with these tangible value use cases that can deliver operational efficiency, productivity, and that can help you advance your quality and compliance operations. And then like one use case, for example, it can be, again, digital logbooks, which is, in my opinion, a great way to unlock immediate value. And then the last point I want to make, Michelle, is don't stop there. You need to continue working with your vendors and tech companies, such as Microsoft, for example, to help you design and implement your digital strategy and roadmap for the future. So I think, to me, Michelle, those are my key points in, the maturity, the journey. And if you are in the middle of transformation, look, the other thing that I see a lot that companies do is sometimes let's say, it's happening because companies also have decentralized ways to operate, but share with your colleagues in other regions and externally, and share the benefits of digitizing, so that they can also embrace this digital transformation and don't get stuck in the pilot or MVP purgatory, as McKinsey calls it as well. You need to think with a scale mindset, right? The value of all of this digitalization is a scaling. So that would be, Michelle, my few points there around this topic.
Yeah, great. Yeah, hopefully that helps more than one of you on the call to kind of get started. So talking about, we talked about the Tulip and Microsoft partnership on the next slide. So, we joined together to start working to really, with a vision of trying to empower manufacturers to start, with smart and scaling their digital operations, with the idea of increasing efficiency, driving the innovation, transforming the workplace. I think especially in life sciences, there's a lot of documentation coming out from a lot of the regulators that are really trying to push innovation. One of the previous conferences that I was recently at, there's a lot of regulator engagement from across the globe, from FDA, EMA, MHRA, and they're all really trying to push innovation. I think, the message I got was that they do not want to be the crutch anymore, or the reason for not innovation and not innovating. And so what I have also seen is an infiltration of a lot of documentation coming from the regulators, providing some sort of, light for the fire to kind of start pushing life sciences industries. I think they have come to the realization that these technologies do offer, better controls and increased quality. And so, that's sort of a really satisfying message that I'm starting to see from the other side, right? Not just industry, but from the regulators themselves. So Yuri, maybe you can provide a little bit more background as to also what, what this partnership can enable and what we're trying to do together.
Yeah, no, terrific. And Michelle, I think what you just mentioned about the, realization of regulatory agencies to really, I guess, be not more lenient, but provide more open guidance to pharmaceutical, medical devices and consumer healthcare companies is critical. I remember back then in my days doing advanced technologies for prior companies I worked for. And to be honest, I think that, that regulatory framework is one of the most difficult roadblocks that impedes really advancing technologies. So I think the fact that you just mentioned, the regulatory agencies are open for companies to really innovate. I think that probably what COVID did is, giving the chance for regulatory agencies to know, look, technology brings advancement in a fast pace. And even healthcare systems don't work right now very well because of all of those regulatory hurdles we have. So we need to really open the path for faster innovation. And I think that's really amazing because then exactly because of that, right? The partnership for us is more important than ever, the partnership with Tulip. We at Microsoft recognize that life sciences manufacturers, they have a lot of critical issues to address to drive operational and quality efficiency, especially as it relates to documentation-driven activities. So manufacturers also don't have many times, and this is what I've seen in most of my interactions with customers, they don't have all the necessary IT resources they need to design their own digital platforms. And even if they do, sometimes those platforms may become outdated, and that's not good. So over the last few years, Microsoft has been doubling down our investments to develop partnerships with partners such as Tulip to develop tailored solutions for manufacturers and helping them deliver outcomes that matter to our customers. So for example, the Tulip platform powered by Azure can help you to reduce errors with digital guidance. It can help you increase operational efficiency through integrations, and it can help you to gain real-time production visibility. which, to be honest, is really what all of these life sciences companies need to really embrace a more technology-based decision-making practice. So, Michelle, perhaps can you expand on what this partnership means to you and how Tulip is leveraging Microsoft to empower manufacturers in their frontline operations?
Yep, sure. Well, we're supporting our customers across the globe. We've got customers in all sorts of regions using data centers in, North America, EMEA, also now in Asia Pacific region. Of course, the cloud infrastructure and data management that Tulip offers, in connectivity with Microsoft allows for that scalability and connectivity across the globe. Also, we're advancing a lot of the analytics and insights so that manufacturers can gain that valuable information from the data that they're creating as part of their process already. Like I mentioned a lot about, making that data available and accessible to the operators to empower them to make better decisions, faster decisions on time. And so those advanced analytics and some of the technologies that we're partnering with Microsoft will enable some of that. So those are a few key areas that are making this partnership quite beneficial to our customers.
That's amazing.
Yes. So I think we are really ready to move on to a demo. Like I mentioned, is that all along that we are going to demonstrate sort of logbooks and how this sort of starting use case can help you on your journey, and with also some practical examples of how it can enable other parts of your operation.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce you to the demo that we're going to be watching. In the previous session, we actually walked our customers and our attendees through how to use Tulip to create logbook applications or to collect data using Tulip platform. In this specific demo, we are going to actually look how to use the data that's been collected from these logbook applications beyond logbook applications, right? Like how the data can be used to drive workflows for other parts of the processes. So for example, weighing and dispensing application. So I'll be walking you through how you can use equipment statuses, equipment calibration data to actually guide the operator through a workflow that's been actually decided by the Tulip application and the logic behind it, right? Like, so using Tulip's common data model, as Michelle mentioned, right? Like data models are becoming more and more composable. By using these composable data models, we are able to pass around data between one part of the process to the next part of the process. So this is the exact demo that we are going to be looking at, where we are using logbook data to actually drive the workflow for a weighing and dispensing process. Hi, so today we are going to learn how to use your logbook data into different parts of your process. So here I have a weighing and dispensing application where I have equipment status. This status is coming from my equipment logbook, and I can use this status to drive dynamic workflow for my weighing and dispensing process. So for example, when I actually go and select a work order that I need to execute, I try to execute this, the application is going to tell me that, hey, you cannot actually go in and run this application because this specific equipment is dirty. At this point, I can also use my mobile application to run my equipment logbook app, or I can even go in and embed that as part of my weighing and dispensing process. So as an operator, I can also go in, select the logbook demo, and start executing this specific logbook. So I'm going to go in, select the equipment that I just went through. I can also scan my QR code to select that equipment. And at this point, I can guide the operator through the logbooks that he need to go in and record data for. So for example, the first things first I need to do is record temperature. I can get this data from sensors, as we saw earlier. I can also go in and log in data values manually, but I can also pull this from the sensors directly. So I'm just going to go in and put this data from the sensor into my text box. I can save this, and as I'm executing these logbooks, my log fields are being reduced as I've already executed them. So I'm just going to go in and execute a couple of them.
For example, I need to go in and display work instructions to the end user, so I can embed all kinds of rich media into these applications, giving the right information to the end user at the right time. I can also use device cameras to capture images of these actions being performed. So not only do I have data around this action being performed, but I also have evidences of these actions been executed by the end user. So here I have an example that's actually using the device camera to capture this image. I can go and capture this evidence, I can save this value. And of course, since Tulip is 21 CFR Part 11 compliant, I can go in and capture my e-signatures as well. I can view the data that I'm signing off on. So as an end user, I know exactly what happened, what time did I execute this process. I can go in and put in my e-signatures as badge IDs. I can use NIMI bands for e-signatures. I can use single sign-on solutions for putting in my e-signatures as well. But for this demo, I'm just going to go in and use my badge ID. And once I actually sign off on this, I'm capturing timestamp around this action as well. And I submit this specific request. As a supervisor, I can also review all of this logbook data using my supervisor application. But I can also go in and use this data into my weighing and dispensing process, where now I can see the equipment status is clean. I can select the work order that I need to execute, and I can start executing this specific work order for my weighing and dispensing process. And I can guide the operator through checklists for the weighing and dispensing. I can use equipment on the shop floor to capture this data as well. And as I'm executing this data, as you can see, I'm moving on with the workflow for weighing and dispensing process. So with Tulip common data model and the composable data structures that we have, you are able to share data across different parts of your process and use these data points to actually drive the dynamic workflow needed by the process and the operator itself, so that the operator does not have to think about what do I do next. The applications are making decisions for them. So this was an example of how you can use logbook data and go beyond just digitizing your logbook into Tulip platform. You can use those data points in different parts of your process. Thank you.
So that was great. I hope you can see some of these like code composability elements, kind of bringing it back to the poll questions. I think I wrote down the two top ones were data analysis and decision making were slow, as well as not always accurate. Which was one of the others. And I think all of them resounded with people. But those two were the biggest ones. And I think in that demo, Nanad was able to show us that we are able to accommodate for both of those, right? We can connect directly to equipment to pull in, to certain sensors to pull in data directly. Let's talk about accurate data right there. It's pulling in from the source. No middle person, transcribing an error, an issue, in a data point incorrectly. Also allowing that data to be visible on the shop floor. So now you have a clean piece of equipment or maybe a dirty piece of equipment. You can't now use that, right? So that data is now visible on the shop floor, real-time information about whether you can use or not use a piece of equipment. So again, that's how you bring in sort of all the composable elements to a software such as Tulip to allow or to get increased quality. From review by exception. You can get alerts when things are not in accordance with what you have defined. Data integrity with especially like I'm going to say that accuracy component. The edge connectivity, which is bringing in that data from all the different sources that are on your shop floor. Tracking and genealogy, you can, look at all sorts of genealogy of parts that you're in processes and even equipment that you're moving around the shop floor. You can do this all with no code. Which again is democratizing these abilities. It's giving the abilities to people who may not have a computer science degree, but have lots of deep knowledge and expertise on the shop floor and what's happening in the manufacturing and the operation. Of course, the real-time visibility we talked about, and interface flexibility. So there's so many composable elements to these technologies, just how we demonstrated with a simple logbook example. So we also have a couple more slides here that demonstrate some of the successes we've had. The first one is with a top 10 pharma company. They implemented a suite of cleaning logbooks to significantly reduce time. A lot of it was documentation time. A lot of it was not first rate. So with the utilization of these cleaning logs and cleaning apps, dynamic work instructions and such, they were able to digitize 4,000 pages worth of logbooks in a relatively short period of time. They automated their data capture from scales and pH probes, among other things, which again yielded significant cost reduction, basically from improved quality. The next example is with a med device company, where the customer would leveraged Tulip to create the digital logbooks because of some new regulation that was required on these loaner kits. They brought their time down from 10 minutes to only a few seconds, with $500,000 in cost savings per year. They were able to, achieve real-time visibility of the production floor, as well as the inventory of their products. So as you can see, there's some real live examples of how Tulip has been implemented in a way that's very scalable and provides lots of increased quality. So I'm going to hand over the last slide to Yuri, and then I think we can probably open up to questions.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. So I think, look, as you learned from Michelle and then also from Ninad in the demo, Tulip is a clear partner in digitalization of logbooks and workflow automation. So if you're looking for the right niche partners to bring smart and scalable digitalization to your manufacturing operations, then you should contact us. The Tulip platform, powered by Microsoft, it can help you in many ways. One, you can actually lean into the power of automation experts in the life sciences industry, as Michelle already acknowledged a couple of customer stories that are real and that show clear value. You can also leverage Microsoft as the platform of platforms to bring this latest cutting-edge cloud and AI technology and much more. And then you can also bring the power of the Microsoft portfolio from Azure Cloud to all the productivity Microsoft 365 solutions and Dynamic 365 solutions as well, so that you can light up the workflow automation and digital logbook solutions that your quality team needs and all your manufacturing operations. You can also, very importantly, you can unlock the productivity that perhaps is lacking in your team or company, or that, maybe everybody and your talent and labor is telling you we need to do things differently. And doing that, you will accelerate that decision-making process, giving, data to everyone to really make better decisions, to help you, refine that quality stage to a more advanced level, and then hopefully achieve the process excellence, which is really top for every life sciences company. So I think that to me is the key takeaways that I have here, Michelle. And, I am super happy that we had this opportunity today to chat together. Let's open it for Q&A from the audience.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Michelle, to Ninad, and Yuri for walking us through the digital transformation and all the successes that the companies have had. It's great to see those stories. Those are fascinating numbers that you had in the last few slides. So would ask the audience to definitely use the chat to ask questions that you have. One question that has come up is, what are some of the most common mistakes you see when companies start digitizing their workflows? Any thoughts on that, on what you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I could start with one that comes to mind. It's sort of the mindset, right? Like, I think a lot of people come to us and they start and they're like, we're trying to get rid of paper. And so their first thing that they do is pick up their paper and try to create exactly what they have in the digital tool, right? And this is sort of that paper on glass approach that we were discussing sort of earlier in the presentation. And what I try to challenge people is to really understand the process, right? And I think even in the AI session, last week, they mentioned, don't just digitize a process. And I agree with that statement, but I think the point is understanding your process is, and more importantly, as a second step, then what data you need to capture. And so setting up the tool in order to capture those data elements that are important for you to assure, patient safety, product quality. Those data elements are really going to drive how you digitize, right? And the point is also, what data does my operator need in order to make that decision, to do that thing? If it's a work process, right? And there are, let's say, cleaning. We've kind of talked a little bit about cleaning, right? If at that cleaning step, that person needs a visualization of the thing that they're cleaning, we could add pictures, we can have videos, we can add anything we want to enable that operator to do what they need to do correctly the first time. Maybe it's connecting, again, those data elements. If I can't start until a particular time or, a hold time for something, then I don't even want that step available to me until I can actually execute it, right? And so you would design those things into your workflows. And so, yeah, that's the biggest thing is, again, just trying to create exactly what you have on paper.
Yeah, and that's something that I try to tell my customers as well, that when you're trying to digitize your processes, don't just think about putting paper on glass, think about all the other processes that are connected to that paper, right? Like, so as Michelle said, like, just don't put paper on glass because you're not going to create any value around it. Think about how you can use that data in different parts of your processes as well, and drive the workflow based on the data that's been captured across different parts of your process, not just logbooks, for example.
Yeah, maybe one last point here, Ninad and Michelle, and to the audience, right? What I also see happening often, right? It's almost for every digital solution that companies are trying to do. One, they are trying to build this on their own. And I think that is, to me, is costly because technology is moving very fast and quickly. So by the time you really digitize and you do your own workflows, somebody else has launched a more premium technology and you're kind of, being left behind. So that to me is a mistake. The other one is you don't get your users involved. And that to me is really how you kill a project. You have to understand that at the end of the day, there are people and technicians and operators that are going to be there day to day and every minute of their production hours to really, understand these tools. So make sure you really understand their needs so that you can actually start digitizing these workflows with success. And what I learned in my prior times at, life sciences companies and others, is you also, if you want to have success, think about assigning a super user. Someone that not only when you start getting your users there and you start to digitize, someone that is always there to coach the team, to guide them and never let them fall down and or quit. And I think that really will drive adoption. I've done it myself. That has been my prior approach in developing and deploying technologies at Fortune 100 companies. So yeah, that to me really is what you need to do.
Yeah, if I could add on to that, Yuri, you brought up such a great point is like working with your operators, right? I think one thing that to mention is that implementing these technologies is not just a technology initiative, right? And that is more and more important, especially because these solutions that we're providing, like Tulip, are democratized solutions. They're intended to be used by the operators. And I say that because this whole no code thing is really important. It's not just, no code because no code's cool, but it's really the intention and objective of no code is to make these technologies more tangible for people, especially, like I said, the people who have the most expertise in their processes, who have the expertise on their manufacturing operations. You know, I think somebody also mentioned to me, I'm sure there's a statistic on it, but more engaged employees also provide better quality products. This is a great way to engage your people, is to have them be part of the solution. So I think that is a really important component, this sort of no code democratization element to what these technologies provide. I also, I'm sorry, I was just on the chat and noticed the part 11 question. I did
Yes.
want to just
Go for
kind of
it.
articulate on that a little bit, that yes, in fact, Tulip does have signature capabilities. Nanad did show our signature widget. The way he showed it was with one component, because we do turn off certain features, because we do also support many different industries. But for our regulated industries, for example, that signature widget does also require two components, for example, as one of the requirements of Part 11. So yes, the answer is we do provide feature that supports Part 11.
Awesome. Thank you for walking through that, and for the previous question around the digitizing workflows and approach recommendations. There's a question here, and thank you for putting some of the links here around ERP, but the question is, can Tulip connect ERPs? How does it transfer data from the front lines to the people who need it? And there's a link in here on how to plan an integration between Tulip and MES or ERP. Do any of you want to comment on that one around the ERP piece?
Yeah, so think about Tulip platform as like the system of engagement to your backend system. So all the master data lies in your ERP system, and you would be using Tulip connectors framework to actually pull in that data when required by the process. So when, for example, you need you want to pull in equipment calibration data from your CMMS solution, Tulip will be able to communicate with the CMMS solution to actually pull in that equipment data and display that to the end user. And once they are done updating the workflow or done walking through that workflow, you'll be able to communicate back to that CMMS solution and update that data point for that equipment. Or in terms of ERP solution, Tulip platform can also pull in work order details, work order statuses, pull in BOM details, update inventory with the material that's been consumed. Everything happens in real time using the Tulip connector framework. So the point is, like, keep your master data where it needs to be, and just pull in the data when needed and update that data when needed by the process, so that you're not replicating the single source of truth in different systems.
Awesome, cool. Thank you. Thanks, Danad, for answering that question. There's another question here around, this is in the Q&A. Can you please provide a real example how Tulip provided real-time insight for enabling frontline operator to make some cognizant decision? Any examples you can provide on that, or any thoughts on scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've shared a couple. You know, there's a couple that I can think of just from the logbook example that, or demo that was shown, where, you know, again, insights on other things that are happening on other parts of the shop floor, like the cleaning logs. I think that that's really important, because as an example, because it can enable decisions from that, right? Like, instead of having to, you know, to go in and find whether you can use a particular piece of equipment, or like the whole times was another example as to where that information can be stored and tracked somewhere else, but provided to you in any sort of batch record or any process as to where you're going to need that information. Also, you know, our analytics part of our platform enables you to build analytics on real-time data. You can bring that into any app that you build as well, so that you're getting real-time analytics on the shop floor during your manufacturing process to enable a better, smarter decision in the moment. So if you want something more practical or even more detailed, we can certainly share, you can reach out to us and we can share with you these examples. Unless you have other.
I think that's pretty good.
Perfect. Great. Well, thank you so much. I just want to say a big thank you to our three presenters, to Michelle, to Ninad, and Yuri. Thank you so much for just walking through all the benefits of going beyond paperless and moving forward into digital transformation and showing some of those case studies and just how they can be successful, how organizations can be successful with Tulip and Microsoft. And thank you to all the participants today for listening, being on the call, sending over these great questions. We appreciate your questions and your thoughts there. The next step we'd love to take is that there is another webinar next Thursday, the 17th, called Revolutionizing Life Sciences Manufacturing with Digital Technologies. And this is our 3 of 3, the third of 3 webinars that we have focused on life sciences manufacturing. So feel free to register if you haven't already. We'll put the registration link in the chat. And for this particular one, I'll just note that we will be sending out the recording as well as information on how you can contact Tulip directly. If you do want to contact, though, prior to the email going out, feel free to connect with Michelle. We're going to put her LinkedIn URL in the chat here, and feel free to reach out directly. So with that, I just want to say again, thank you so much. We so appreciate your time and being here. We look forward to hopefully seeing you next week on the next webinar, and be sure to let us know if you have any questions in the meantime, because we'd love to connect with you as needed. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day and hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.